योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीना पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिं प्रणतोऽस्मि। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
तो हमने समाधि पादा से शुरू किया. समाधि पादा is the first chapter, and in that we learned the first 4 shlokas are about yoga. Atha yoganuशासनम, yoga chitta vritti nirodha, that is the most important part of yoga. चित्त की जो वृत्तियां हैं हमें उसे रोकना है, that is yoga. चित्त की वृत्तियों को रोक देते हैं. तदा दृष्टु स्वरूपे अवस्थानम, तो हम अपने स्वयं स्वरूप में आ जाते हैं. तयः पंचतयः क्लिष्टा अक्लिष्टाः, 5 तरह हैं. They are pleasant or unpleasant. So there are 5 types. प्रमाण, विपर्यय, विकल्प, निद्रा, स्मृतयः. प्रमाण के बारे में सुना, उसमें प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण, अनुमान प्रमाण और आगामी. किसी के बारे में अगर हमें ऑलरेडी पता है तो जिसका प्रूफ है हमारे पास, सो दैट इज प्रत्यक्ष, जो हमारे हमने देखा है अक्षु से, आँख से. आई वोंट गो इनटू डिटेल, मगर अनुमान मतलब जैसे जिसका कोई अनुमान है हमको, तो अनुमान. एंड आगामी जैसे हमने किसी से सुना है, जैसे कि से अर्चना से सुना है या आदि शंकराचार्य से सुना है किसी, दैट इज द प्रमाण. पर्यय मतलब रॉन्ग नॉलेज, मतलब इफ यू सी अ rope you think it's a snake. We all go through this, we just don't realize it. ये सब हमारी चित्त की वृत्तियां हैं. दूसरा है विकल्प, शब्द ज्ञानानुपाति वस्तु शून्यो विकल्पः. तो इसका मतलब है कि
More like you perceive something.
Yeah,
that is not true.
That is not true. लास्ट में है स्लीप, निद्रा. स्मृति इज मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट. जैसे आपके साथ कुछ हुआ है तो हम उसी पे याद करके उसी के बारे में हमारे मन में वृत्ति आती रहती है. तो इट इज अबाउट थिंकिंग अबाउट आवर पास्ट. दीज आर ऑल द वृत्तिज दैट वी हैव टू वर्क ऑन. फिर वो बोलते हैं कि इन वृत्तियों से कैसे हमें डील करना चाहिए. तो बोलते हैं कि अभ्यास vairāgyabhyam तन्निरोधः. अभ्यास मतलब it should be uninterrupted continuously in order to get into that meditative state.
Today we're going to talk about Vairāgya. So as Gayatri ji mentioned, you know, we spoke about vrittis last couple of classes. Then we started going into how do we overcome these vrittis, right? We talked about vasanas, we talked about those deep rooted patterns that we go through. How do we overcome them? We started off with Abhyāsa, so that discipline of whatever sadhana, yoga that we're all doing. We discussed that till Sutra number 14. Sutra 15 is now coming into Vairāgya. So first it tackles a very initial stage of Vairāgya. So today we'll go through this sutra alone. We'll go deep. I've prepared some notes and I'm also going to read something from a book that I saw. So we'll go through that. Okay. So Sutra 15 is dṛṣṭānuśravika-viṣaya-vitṛṣṇasya vaśīkāra-saṃjñā vairāgyam. Okay, so dṛṣṭa means seen, the one that is available within our sensory perception. Anuśravika, heard, things that we hear. Viṣaya is the object, key object. Vitṛṣṇasya is the one who is free. Trishna is the desire, craving. So one who's free of that is Vitṛṣṇasya. Vaśīkāra, to be able to control. Saṃjñā is awareness. And vairāgyam is the absence of craving. So basically what the sutra is saying is, whenever an individual becomes free of this craving of the sense objects, of not just things that he or she has experienced, but things that he or she has heard from others, right? Then that state of consciousness is Vairāgya. So let's even start with breaking this down, which very beautifully, I think, Patanjali Maharishi is bringing us to something very important, right? So we all are born and then we go through certain set of experiences. But that is not the only thing that influences our consciousness. We have desires that are also sometimes borrowed from others. Okay, so let's say, I'll speak about myself. When I was around 18, 19, never left home ever, not even for a sleepover. They raised me very overprotected that way, but I'd heard a lot about, people were studying, getting a master's in the US, and America was this, but that thing of, we need to go abroad, I need to do this. So those desires were not necessarily things from what I had experienced, but I had heard other people experiencing, and there was a desire to want to experience that. Or, if you've, eaten something and you're used to a certain kind of food, but someone else tells you about something very exotic, unique, you want to try it. So those are also a part of our desires. Okay. So what do we mean by when this craving is lost? So what Patanjali Maharishi is also bringing us to here is an awareness in our lives around how our desires are continuous, right? Like there's a constant need for something. Either it's a need for a thing or a need for a validation of how you are or what you're thinking about. A constant need, a constant craving. And this is something, if we look at our own lives, right, and we've set all of our goals, you'll see that just because you achieved a goal didn't mean that you stopped there, right? You wanted something in your life, you got it. And you kept wanting, and you kept getting it, and you kept wanting, and you kept getting it. Now you keep wanting, and you keep getting it. Then what? Right? So this is constant chasing, constant inner restlessness. May not be around everything, maybe around a few things in our lives. Those are the vrittis and the vasanas that are holding us. Each of us will have a trap, right? Each of us will have something that trips us up. Whether it's money, whether it's family, whether it's career, whether it's fame, whatever it is. We've talked about Kanchan, Kamini, Kirti. Like it's one of those things that is having a very deep hold in us. So that is usually the root cause of our desires. So basically, as soon as we get into that trap, there's a lot of restlessness, there's a lot of craving. So as long as that is there, this concept of vairāgyam or detachment is a very hard thing to get. So the reason he's introducing Abhyāsa first, right, in the Yoga Sutras itself, the way it's being approached, you start with that discipline to purify your mind or purify your thinking or bring yourself into a state of, calmness before you can even attempt vairāgya. Because vairāgya is a very difficult thing for us, especially those of us who are in this world, right? You have to go to work and deal with family and deal with people and deal with situations and still have a sense of vairāgya. That's very difficult, So that is the key here, is to understand that a lot of our desires are impacted by our own sphere of consciousness, both things we experience and things that we hear. So elimination of this is, once these are eliminated, once that hankering around those desires are gone, then you reach a state of vairāgyam. Now, the most important thing, especially for us householders, right? This verse also talks about, or Sutra talks about, how it's not necessarily a need to completely give up everything and just run away from it, right? It is not meant to be that. Because the minute you talk about vairāgya and detachment, the first question that comes to people's minds is, so should I not be ambitious? Or should I not want a family? Should I not want to do this, etc., etc.? Vairāgya here is emphasized as an inner development. It's an inner thing. It's an attitude. It has nothing to do, or I would say has very little to do with the outside world. So in the beginning, of course, when you're training yourself for vairāgya, if you keep exposing yourself to those sensual pleasures, if you will, without taking the right steps towards Abhyāsa and sadhana, then yeah, you're going to get beat out. It's difficult. So in the beginning, yes, you may have to withdraw, you may have to be very choosy about what you're exposing your mind to. You might have to be very picky about, certain situations you put yourself in, right? Certain people you have around you, the satsanga, again, very important. You may have to do those things, but the more you do with practice, essentially you're able to then handle anything that comes your way. So it's very important to understand that vairāgya as an attitude, because once you get into that practice, then the attitude towards things, attitude towards pleasure, attitude towards pain, attitude towards money, attitude towards fame, right? Attitude towards the nice things in life, attitude towards the awful things in life. That attitude is what we are trying to inculcate, that attitude of being a Sakshi Bhav. So last time when we talked about what does sadhana do, it is creating a bigger me or a bigger person of your tiny little ego. It's creating a bigger version that is just a witness, that is just watching. So whenever you're crying and you're wondering, why God, why did this happen to me? It's watching. Whenever you're excited and you're like, yes, I know I'm the best in the world, it's watching. It's just watching. It's not doing anything. It's not judging. It's nothing. It's watching. So the more we practice Abhyāsa, the more we practice our sadhana, we end up identifying with this bigger part of us. We end up becoming a witness. So when life is going like this, you start to move like this instead of you going like this, because that is exhausting. And I had, read this somewhere, very interesting, that a lot of us who are on the spiritual path, right, and we keep talking about the knocking on the door, is basically the soul reaching a point where it's like, stop, just stop this madness, you need to calm down, stop, you need to go after what's real. So that calling that we all have, that as we all step into sadhana, as we're all here today, is the soul telling us, I'm done with the ups and downs and the highs and lows. I'm tired. There's more to life than this. Look, go deeper. Look, right? It's telling you, the ego. So it's very important when we are, in our day-to-day lives, is to understand vairāgya in that context. Because when vairāgya is misunderstood, actually it becomes a very painful journey towards, in my mind, a very beautiful spiritual life that we can all lead, because it's misunderstood as complacency or not wanting to go after things that are important to you at a particular stage in your life, right? So that's the key thing there. Now, the characteristics of vairāgya, this is something that was noted, and then I have a bit of a flow chart. We can talk about it. Vairāgya is something, the first thing when you think of vairāgya, it's something that brings a balanced attitude. So what does that mean? So during your day-to-day, when you just either look over your day in the night or something, you look behind and see, okay, how is my day today? It's very important to notice your highs and lows during the day for you as a person. How did you respond to certain situations, right? Vairāgya is something that will eliminate that and provide a very balanced attitude. So the more you do sadhana, the more you do your practice, as you do these reflections, daily reflections, you'll notice that, something happened this morning, it was bad, but okay, next, move on. Or, oh yeah, great, this thing went really well, I'm very happy, thank God, okay, we'll see what tomorrow brings. So that, samatvam or the ability to see something without its extremities is vairāgya, that balanced attitude. It's also a very integrated approach to how we see life. Actually, that's the beauty of vairāgya, because that's where, unfortunately, it's always associated, with a lack. Vairāgya is always associated with the lack of something. No, it's actually much more. It's the abundance of calmness and balance and wholeness towards life that doesn't just drag you, through a dirt road. Is at least how I see vairāgya. It's a very beautiful thing. And the feeling of love and compassion, it's one of those attributes of our lives where when we develop vairāgya, we can see everybody with a lot of love and compassion, yet have a detached attachment. this word detached attachment is personally for me a mantra, especially when it comes to our family, right? Like, let's say you have a loved one, you're trying to bring about a change in their lives. You know that if they just did this one thing, their life will change, but they are not there to listen to you. They've decided to go their own way. You're helpless, you're on the outside, you are not them. So how do you approach that? Because it is a loved one. You have to have that level of compassion, right? You have to have that love. You are attached, but how do you still approach that with a certain level of detachment, right? So that is vairāgya. That beautiful ability to do both is vairāgya, right? And it brings a sense of undisturbed, unchanging calmness and happiness. So if we are doing our sadhana and reflecting, so the other important thing when we talk about these, especially these attributes, right, it only comes to life or comes to our view when we reflect on the sadhana we're doing. It's very important to check how we're doing as a person day to day. You don't just have to journal, but just even noticing it, right? It's very important to do that. And usually when we have that sakshi bhav that's developed, it will tell you, it will make you aware, oh, see, the same situation has happened for the millionth time. This time there was no drama. Good. Okay, next. Okay, so that's how you know that it's making that change in your life. It kind of talks to you. So the question then becomes, when we think about our lives, we have all these practices that we do, yoga, meditation, pranayama, brilliant. We need to keep with it. But this inner attitude is also something that we need to consciously develop. That's the main thing here. Is typically any type of discipline that we take up, the end, it leads you towards this vairāgya aspect. But being consciously aware of building this is very important. Okay. So I have a bit of a flow chart that I just built in. Since it's you probably have seen the videos, I try to make something that's a bit more visual, and I'll share it with Archana ji so it can be put up on the video. But I broke down a bit of a map to what we call as vairāgya, right? So I'll just go through this and then I'll share it with you all. So usually at the initial stages of sadhana, right, especially when we're still mostly identify ourselves with worldly things. That's what I mean by initial stages of sadhana. It has nothing to do with age, okay? It has nothing to do with anything else in your life except how you identify yourself. So if you're someone who mostly identifies yourself with the external world, then you are in the initial journey of sadhana. Usually you're going after big desires and many desires. Your mind is going here and there. I want this, I want that, I want to be rich, I also want a car, I also want this, I want that, I want, to reach the top position. Like, you're not as focused. You want too many things, and the mind or yourself is constantly restless, right? So what sadhana or abhyasa or spiritual practice does, it helps you prioritize. So this is something we do, where we talk about, whether it's self-help books or other types of personal development. This is a very similar process, right? You have too many things. Now, if you want to actually achieve something, you got to prioritize. Of these 10 things, what is the one thing that I absolutely want? So align, pick that one thing, align yourself, your values and goals to that. So once you go through that initial, stage of sadhana, you come to a point where you say, okay, I've decided now my big goal or aim in life is one thing, okay, whatever that is. So let us say that one thing is I need to just focus on my spiritual life. Everything else will come after, it'll figure itself out, but I've decided this is my focus. The minute you do that, your hankering and your what they talk about raga dvesha, right? The root cause of vairāgya, the likes and dislikes, the polarities around things drops for anything other than your one goal. So what you've now done is you've picked that one goal and you've said, my spiritual life is my priority. Everything else will follow. That means you're going to adjust everything else in your life. You will adjust to everything else as well in your life the way it is to make this a priority. Okay, so that is how sadhana helps us stay focused. From there, the more we go deeper into our practice and spirituality, I think there comes a point where you get those goals, you achieve those goals, and you set another one, and you achieve it, and you set another one, you ask what's next. Keep achieving, set the goals, okay, like something's missing, something's empty. Why am I still not happy? I've done everything, I've become focused, I've done everything. So that then leads you to understanding this whole game, right? Essentially a game, understanding yourself, understanding your place in this universe and how things are working out. Then you almost go from that macro to a micro. You start, okay, enjoying the simple pleasures of life. So at one point, maybe I needed a big house and a big car, but I right now just want good company, and that's more than enough for me. So automatically your goal, your life, everything, choices you make changes, right? You start to be more grateful for the things you have and not focus too much around the things you don't have, right? Because a lot of times our desires are rooted in the fact that we don't have something, in that we need it, our thought or perception that we need that thing for us to be happy. You start to question those things about yourself and come to a point of, I actually don't need a whole lot to be happy. Maybe I'm just happy if I close my eyes and go deep within, right? Which then over years and years of practice kind of leads to this vairāgyam. So just a bit of a map to say the intent of this, what I've just put together is understanding if whether or not we are truly aware of what's real and what's not, where we are truly working or using the viveka, the buddhi, right? So when we talk about the antakarna and when we say vairāgya as an internal concept, it is purely of buddhi. Buddhi is the one that can pierce through this and say, hey, you're going after the wrong things, or you're going after things that are not permanent, that are transitional, so it's very important as we're thinking about vairāgya to build this vivek buddhi. And vivek buddhi gets built, as we've all said, it's the only window in this antakarna where that divine light can enter. Vivekam is built through sadhana, right? Through our studies, whatever we are doing, satsang, all these teachings that we are learning, all of the yoga that we're doing, whatever it is that you're doing for yourself, that is how Viveka Buddhi is energized. Yeah. So with that, I will just end this with a reading. So I want to first share this book, a little bit tattered because it's old. It's called How to Get Vairāgya. It's by Swami Sivananda himself and published by the Divine Life Society. This specific, just showing everyone Swamiji's pictures, so beautiful. I took this, I actually stole it from my mom. It's not that I took it, stole it pretty much.
You want me to edit this one?
It's okay. I always take stuff with more. So this particular one is it's the third edition. It in 1984, even before my time. I think it was given to my grandfather, but I found it and I was like, what a straightforward book, How to Get Vairāgya. Here, let me give it to you straight. It's basically Swamiji's style, which is beautiful. So what I thought is just whatever is relevant to our teaching, I'll just read a paragraph or two and then, we can open it up for questions. Okay. On account of ignorance, man runs hither and thither to seek happiness in objects. A little gingerbread and some sweetmeats, a son and a young wife, some position and power, and a little money in the bank to boot will fill his heart with joy and calm down his nerves. That is all he wants. Bliss of Atma, supersensuous Ananda, peace, spiritual ecstasy, and knowledge are unknown to him. He does not want them. Nay, he dislikes them. He hates people who talk about higher and sublime things. Believe me, man can obliterate his samskaras by purushartha or right exertion. He's not a creature of environment or circumstance. He is the master of his destiny. Okay, so these are direct words from Swamiji, and of course this book was first published in 1938. So the language is very crisp. You see what I'm saying? So it's, I always tell people when I read from this, it might feel very direct, but that was the style of writing. And it's Swamiji, like they don't, people like greats like this don't mince words. They're very direct about what they have to say. But essentially what he's saying is, these little things that we're after, the little things, which is all the worldly pleasures that we're after, are little. There's more to life that we don't know. We almost, an ignorant person or someone who's not understood the value of sadhana shuns it away because it's not instant gratification. You know what I'm saying? So it takes time, it takes effort. So he's talking about how that essentially makes you someone who is bound by the ragas, dveshas of everything, right? So you're not free. You're still bound by pleasure and pain. So how do you get vairāgya? Yeah. And then this last paragraph. Amidst the din and boisterous bustle of worldly activities, there do come moments of tranquility and peace when the mind, for the time being, however short it may be, soars above the filthy worldly things and reflects on the higher problems of life. The why and whereof of life and the riddle of the universe. Man begins to inquire, who am I? The sincere inquirer becomes serious and gets absorbed in his reflections. He begins to search and understand the truth. Discrimination, viveka, dawns on him, and he seeks vairāgyam, concentration, meditation, and purification of the body and mind, and eventually attains the highest knowledge of self. But the man whose mind is saturated with worldly vasanas and materialistic poison is quite heedless and is irresistibly carried away by raga and dvesha and tossed about helplessly here and there into the tumultuous samsaric stream of worldly concerns. So very beautifully, written paragraph. To me, this paragraph really stood out because he's talking about that inflection point in all of our lives that makes us go seek that deeper truth, the higher truth. Who am I? That question that all of us have encountered in some shape or form, right? It may not even be in that way. It could even be like, what am I doing here? What is all this? Why am I not happy? Why do I feel like something's missing? Any of those questions are related to the question, who am I? Which puts you on a path. And the minute that door opens, whether you walk through and achieve the highest self or not, but the minute that door opens, you can never look back. That is the beauty of transformation, is you can never look back, even if you wanted to, because it's like taking the veil off. You can't put the veil back on and imagine there's nothing there. No. Like my kids do, they close their eyes and think that they're hiding. Mama, find me. So that is the beauty of it. Okay, so that is our sutra number 15, and we'll continue with the next one next class. Okay, so let us open it up for questions.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Question?
Actually, that's what we are learning in Tattva-bodhana.
आज का क्लास कैसा हुआ? अच्छा.
They should tell me, but I think it was okay. It was good. Yeah.
Anybody has any questions?
Not a question, but I want to say about it. पहले मुझे होता था कि डिटैचमेंट तो है ही, पर्टिकुलरली फैमिली मेम्बर से होता है, किड्स हैं, हस्बैंड है उनसे, तो कि हम बोल रहे हैं उनको, हमको लगा है कि ये उनके लिए अच्छा है, उनको करना चाहिए, पर वो नहीं कर रहे हैं, एंड देन मैं खुद हर्ट हो रही हूँ उससे. पर फिर ये भी फेस था कि कहना ही छोड़ दो, क्योंकि कुछ फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा है, तो व्हाई यू आर वेस्टिंग योर टाइम, या फिर वो भी फेस आया कि फर्क पड़े या ना पड़े, जो अच्छा है वो बोलते रहिए, जब पड़ेगा तो पढ़ना होगा तब पढ़ जाएगा. पर अभी वो भार नहीं लगता, कि हट नहीं होता कि क्यों फर्क नहीं हो रहा है. और ये मैंने खुद अपने आप फील किया है कि जैसे मैंने कभी दिनचर्या फॉलो नहीं की, कभी भी रेगुलरली प्रे करते हो, कुछ करते हो, ऐसे कुछ फॉलो नहीं किया, पर मैंने देखा है मेरे बा को करते हुए, मेरे पापा की मम्मा को, मेरे पापा को करते हुए मैं नहीं फॉलो करती क्योंकि मुझे लॉजिकली पता नहीं चलता था, कोई मेरे क्वेश्चन को आंसर नहीं कर रहा था कि वाई पर आफ्टर दिस लॉन्ग मुझे लगा कि नहीं, उन्होंने वो अपने आप करते रहे, उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा कि दूसरे को वो मानते हैं कि नहीं मानते, कि बराबर कि नहीं, दे डोंट केयर। मुझे लगा अच्छा है, मैं कर रहा हूँ। तो इतने सालों के बाद वो जो मेमोरी थी वो वर्क कर रही है, वो उसका असर अभी उसका इम्पोर्टेंस पता चल रहा है। सो ऐसे ही मेरा धीरे धीरे बदला कि आई एम जब आपने बोला तो मुझे एग्जैक्टली पता चला कि आई एम डूइंग दैट। कभी कभी दिमाग सटक जाता है, पर स्टिल इतना पता है कि वापस आ भी जाता है कि follow the detached attachment.
Yes, very beautifully described. Actually it's
awareness बहुत high हो गया तुम्हारा।
Very exactly. No, it's very true. That Sakshi Bhav, I think, आपके लिए, it's come to a point where it's nudging you, right? Because if it had not, then you would have said, do whatever you want, I'm going to stop telling. No, but you were able to come out of it and say, theek hai, I'll say what I have to do. That's my part. Everybody has to go through their journey, whether it's our kids, our husbands, parents, whatever. They all have their own karmic journey. We have our own karmic journey. We've all come together and we are trying to make something out of it, make it beautiful. But you have no control over it. Sometimes you don't have control over certain things in your own life, right? Some karmic events you can, soften the blow a little bit through our sadhanas, and if your awareness is high enough, great, but some blows are very hard. Can't do anything. We have to go through the learning. So very beautifully described the evolution. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
When I was listening to you about Vairāgya, I was also a little bit thinking about should we then aspire or be ambitious to, we know we are capable of doing something more. It could be work or it could be something else. I was just thinking, we know we are capable of doing that, but we are trying to do that. So is that we should still pursue that, right? Yes. But what is the difference between pursuing that and how to push us forward when we need to go versus having that vairāgya or getting to that equanimity? Whatever happens, when should you be active and when should you be passive?
Yes.
That is...
Yes, very, very good question. So the thing is, the doing can never stop, right? You can't just not do anything. You have to keep doing your part. In fact, if we truly understand Vairāgya, to me, from my experience, having understood whatever I have, I want to play more. I want to be more ambitious. I want to get into the game more. I want to reach my highest. Because it's not what you're doing, right, that is determining Vairāgya. It is how you respond to the result of what you're doing. So we're not saying Vairāgya, detach yourself from the action. Is detach yourself from the result. Same karmanyavadhikarasya, whatever Archana ji spoke about last time, is you're not the adhikari on the result. You have only one jurisdiction. That is your job. The result of that is not in your hands. So it's almost like it's actually a weight off the shoulders, right? So you do your part. So if I'm only focused on my part and not focused on the result, so phir I want to play more. It's a game that God or universe has created, so let me enjoy myself. Let me go through all the beautiful journeys and we'll see what comes out of it. Because you're always rooted, you're always grounded. Whether you have a big house or a small house or you have a big job or, or whatever job, you know that if you were doing sadhana 8 to 9 in the morning, that 8 to 9 is going to happen anyway as long as you're alive. So there's always going to be that center you come back to. So that is the difference between when we say the journey of spirituality or the the journey, basically, the more you identify with the external, that is the beginning of the journey. That's why it has nothing to do with age, it has nothing to do with where you're from, what you do. The more you identify with that external, the lesser, lesser you're identifying on the inside, right? So the focus is to bring that identification to the inside, which nobody can touch, right? The inside, nobody can do anything. Whatever happens on the outside will happen. But if you keep identifying with the inner self, with the Sakshi Bhav, with the bigger we, anything that happens is a passing moment, passing moment, passing moment. You wake up, you get through the day, do your sadhana, done. Wake up, get through the day, do your sadhana. You're having fun. You're having absolute fun. So Vairāgya is the detachment to the result. Yeah.
डिज़ायर दो टाइप का होते हैं, एक बाइंडिंग होता है, एक नॉन बाइंडिंग होता है ना. बाइंडिंग तब होता है जब आप प्रकृतिवश कुछ करो, जैसे सबकी अपनी अपनी टेंडेंसी होती है गुणों के हिसाब से, राइट? सत्व, रजस और तमस. आप जब ऑब्जर्वर बन जाते हो तो आपकी जो डिज़ायर है, आप ऑब्जर्व करोगे कि ये किधर से आ रही है मेरी डिज़ायर. इज़ इट सात्विक डिज़ायर, तामसिक और राजसिक डिज़ायर? वो ऑब्जर्वेशन आ जाता है आपको. जैसे इफ़ किसी कॉलीग से फाइट हुआ, यू वांट टू गिव हिम बैक, कल ऑफिस में जाके उसको तो ऐसे बोलना है. इट्स कमिंग फ्रॉम अ तामसिक स्टैंड पॉइंट. और उसमें भी अगर उसको वापस भी देना है तो आप क्या मेथडोलॉजी अपना रहे हो, किस तरह से उसको कम्युनिकेट करना है, वो मैच्योरिटी से आता है ना. तो वो बाइंडिंग हो सकता है या नॉन बाइंडिंग हो सकता है. वो आपको और कर्मों में उलझा सकता है या आपको फ्री कर सकता है, लिबरेटिंग हो सकता है. तो साधना से आपका वो एबिलिटी टू इंटरैक्ट चेंज होगा और वो डिज़ायर कैसे फुलफिल करना, मीन्स टू गो टुवर्ड्स दैट डिज़ायर और इवन टू फुलफिल दैट डिज़ायर, उसकी क्लैरिटी आएगी आपको. ठीक है, तो वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. और दूसरा, जो हमारी इच्छा होती है ना, दो टाइप की होती है, तो आपको हमेशा इस वक्त ध्यान रखना है. एक तृष्णा होती है, एक कामना होती है. तृष्णा जैसे क्रेविंग होती है. क्रेविंग जैसे आपको कॉफ़ी बहुत पसंद है तो बार बार उसको भोगने की इच्छा को बोलते हैं तृष्णा. कामना होती है जो आपने कभी नहीं देखा, जैसे मान लीजिए आपने नियाग्रा फॉल्स कभी नहीं देखा, आपको देखने की इच्छा, वो कामना है. ठीक है, वो है. और कोई भी चैनल हम यूज़ करते हैं, कुछ भी हम जैसे अगर एम्बिशियस होना चाहते हैं, आप देखिए कि आपका उसके पीछे ध्येय क्या है, गोल क्या है. वाई डू यू वॉन्ट टू डू दैट? उसका एंड गोल श्रेयस है या प्रेयस है? प्रेयस मतलब जो सब मुझे प्रिय है, श्रेयस मतलब जो सबके लिए अच्छा है. इससे किसका भला हो रहा है और इससे मैं क्या अचीव करना चाहती हूँ, एंड गोल क्या है मेरा. और अगर नहीं होगा तो उससे क्या अधर्म होगा? अगर नहीं हुआ ये तो क्या अधर्म होगा? तब तो मुझे पक्का करना चाहिए. धर्म को हमेशा माइंड में रखना चाहिए. इज इट स्टेमिंग फ्रॉम अ पर्सनल डिजायर, प्रेयस वर्सेस श्रेयस, उसका हमेशा ध्यान रखना है.
It's just the detachment from the achievement. That's what I feel. Like when you start realizing that this is what you have to achieve as a part of your professional or personal life, that's part of your karma. Okay? But once you achieve that one, whether how attached you are and in what format you are attached to it, that's where the problem is. And as I always say, that like vairāgya is in our, like, it takes time to clean up our mind. Vairāgya in terms of the family life, nobody explained to us. Unless like you're coming from a family where you understood. But for us, it was never understood it that way. Vairāgya means leave everything.
Sannyas.
Yeah,
whatever
sannyas.
is correct.
Yeah.
But ultimately, coming back to your first lecture, is basically achieving your true potential.
Correct. Yes.
That's where you
Yes.
are.
Yes.
And true potential can be achieved only when you are free from the achievements. When you are focused on the final achievement because your pleasure is attached to it. So my thinking from Vairāgya, coming back to your first one, is detaching from materialistic achievements, not materialistic.
Detaching from the highs and lows, or the impact that an outcome produces in your life, right? Because so let's, Pradeep ji, brought up a very good point, right? Because let us think about this. If, let us say, you're going after something, in the process you've ignored all your other dharma, you've obsessed with this one thing, you know, destroyed half the things along the way, as Archana ji was saying. Like, how do you approach what you want? Is it coming from a place of greed? Is it coming from a place of, you know, a true need to do something bigger and better in your life, to help other people? Those are indicators of, you know, how dharmic or how you're approaching a certain action. But yes, absolutely, the detachment is to what happens if this doesn't work out for me? Do I don't know, get drunk and just become like an alcoholic? You know what I'm saying? So many people, right? Like they have something in their minds, it doesn't work out, and then they take a path that not only ruins themselves, it ruins families, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it didn't happen. It didn't happen for a lot of reasons. Maybe you gave your life to it. It didn't happen.
Prarabdha.
Prarabdha, because there is a flawless system working, guys. There's a flawless intelligence working, and we are trying to perceive it with our limited mind. That is why we are not able to understand certain things, because some things we don't understand the intelligence behind it. But it's flawless, it's working. So you're part of the system, right? You're part of the journey.
What is good for you or what is good for you. So first part is there.
Correct.
Like if you don't understand that one, you're all materialistic, you're running after those things are just useless, because you don't understand that concept. Detachment will come once you understand that one. Then detachment will come when you are not attached with the positive or negative outcome. And I think that's what it is. It is really interesting. Like when you think about in a different wordings, different way, the same thing is communicated in Gita too.
Of course.
Because what you are saying, like all these gurus are the interpretation of all those basic concepts. So whether it's something you are hammering those things to us or anybody who basically followed after that one, it's just the interpretation of everything.
वैराग्य का रूट वर्ड है वीराग. राग वर्ड आता है रंज से. रंज मतलब होता है रंग. जिस चीज़ में आपको रंग दिखना बंद हो जाता है वो वैराग्य हो गया. जैसे बचपन में खिलौनों से बहुत प्रेम रहता है, बड़े होके तो उसमें रस नहीं आता ना, आईफोन पसंद आने लगता है. तो खिलौने से वैराग्य हो गया. इट्स अ नेचुरल प्रोग्रेशन ऑफ माइंड. आप किसी को इम्पोज नहीं कर सकते वैराग्य. आप त्याग कर सकते हो. त्याग इज समथिंग आपको करना पड़ता है. वैराग्य तो नेचुरली होता है. ठीक है. और उसी तरह परिवार में भी जैसे क्या बोलते हैं, मिसप्लेस्ड वैराग्य. मिसप्लेस्ड वैराग्य मतलब जैसे मैंने तत्वों के समय पढ़ाया था शमशान वैराग्य, याद है? कि जैसे किसी की डेथ हो गई फैमिली तो अचानक से वैराग्य आ गया, मूवी नहीं जाना, ये नहीं करना, वो नहीं करना, 2-3 महीने तक डिप्रेशन में जैसे रहना है. परिवार के लोग ऐसे करने लगते हैं. शॉर्ट टर्म वैराग्य होता है, उसको शमशान वैराग्य बोलते हैं. अभी मेरी बेटी को हो गया था. एक दिन यूनिवर्सिटी से आई, बोलती है मम्मी सब माया है. तो बोली इसको क्या हो गया, क्यों इतना अचीव करना है, क्या करने लगा मुझे ये सब करके. सबको देखो कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, ऐसे ये कर रहे हैं, किसको ये कर रहा है, स्कॉलरशिप अप्लाई कर रहा है, सब किसी चीज़ में पड़े हुए हैं ना सारे स्टूडेंट्स. मतलब उसको बहुत बहुत माइंड में बहुत कन्फ्यूजन आ गया. तो मैंने बोला ये अभी ऐसे हो जाएगी कैसे. मैंने इसको बोला कि दुनिया में ना कमल जैसा होना है, लोटस जैसा. तुम पानी में रह के भी पूरा उससे न्यूट्रिशन लेके खिलोगी, बट तुम उससे अटैच नहीं है. मतलब पानी उसके ऊपर उसको कुछ नहीं कर सकता है. तुमको उसको ये प्रॉब्लम हो गया था क्योंकि वो इतने स्ट्रेस देख रही थी ना बाकी स्टूडेंट्स में, और बहुत सारे के पेरेंट्स ही स्ट्रेस का कारण है. ओके. तो उसमें उसको लगा कि मैं इतनी ब्लेस्ड हूँ, मेरे पास इतने रिसोर्सेज हैं, बट उसको उससे नेगेटिव वैराग्य हो गया कि मुझे आई शुड नॉट डिजर्व दिस व्हेन माय फ्रेंड इज सफरिंग. एक अजीब सा वैराग्य हो गया. समझ में आ रहा है? कि मैंने बोला तुमको रिसोर्सेज मिल रहे हैं तुमको कमल के फूल की तरह खिलने के लिए, तो तुम्हारा धर्म है तुम सारे रिसोर्सेज को यूज़ करो. यूज़ योर पेरेंट्स, यूटिलाइज इट टू द मैक्सिमम, बट स्टिल लिप्त नहीं रहो, ताकि तुम बहुत सक्सेसफुल हो, ताकि तुम ऐसे लोगों को हेल्प कर सको, जो ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूट बना सको जो बाकी बच्चे सफ़र कर रहे हैं, तुम एक्चुअली कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट कर सको.
मेरी बेटी को भी ऐसा ही
हुआ था ना.
हाँ, वो बोलती है कि मेरे पास इतना नहीं. एक्चुअली एक बार मेरी बेटी ने मुझे यही बोला था कि मम्मी सबके पास कई जगह पे खाना भी नहीं है, और मैं कितनी ब्लेस हूँ कि मेरे पास खाना भी है. कभी कभी मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ये सही है, डू आई डिजर्व दिस. कहीं पे पानी भी इतना प्योर नहीं मिल रहा है और मुझे मिल रहा है, राइट. सो ये सारी चीज़ें उसके दिमाग में आ रही थी. तो उस टाइम में मुझे भी ऐसे ही अर्चना जी की तरह उसे समझाना पड़ा था कि क्यों ये है और क्या है, और प्रारब्ध कर्मा एंड दिस सबको. तो फिर उसे थोड़ा सा उससे बाहर आई वो, बट वो उसने भी ऐसे ही सोचना शुरू कर दिया था.
Middle school, high school students, 100 of them, a small survey, a friend, the top 3 stressors, the top 3 challenges were anxiety, depression, and school life balance. Like how we have work-life balance, school life, of the 50 categories, these are the top 3, because kids are being pushed to do everything, right? Like you have to learn this instrument or learn, like whatever it is, like so competitive as well. So there's a lot of stress, around, in which a lot of you have older kids here. You'd probably know, but it's very different than how a lot of us were growing.
So there are very learned people, very highly achievers, who left everything and then they basically served for the society. They were living in, like, they don't care where the life is.
तो कौन से समय पे किसको वैराग्य आएगा वो कोई नहीं डिसाइड कर सकता.
That's what I'm telling. I'm coming to that point.
Yeah.
Is basically, as a parents, if the kid start at this point, like whether it is 45, 18, 19, 20, that's the age where as a parent you can control or you can think about it. If they start talking about it, they want to move to that path. Are we scared?
No.
No, that's the thing. If they want to, and then there are people like us who want to be doctor and engineers and that part. So as a parents, are we afraid somewhere in that one? Because we know where that path will lead and where this path will lead. So where we are also confused. I'm not telling, I'm part of that confusion. If my kid will say, I'm too scared, because that path will not give him or her the materialistic achievements. So somewhere I personally feel that's where we are also pushing our kids to choose a somewhere in direct path where they can have a materialistic achievement and then decide. Let them decide afterward. But we don't want to control that.
हमारा आश्रम व्यवस्था इसलिए बनाई गई थी पहले 25 साल तक.
I like that
हाँ.
concept.
तो आश्रम व्यवस्था इसीलिए है कि संन्यास 1 से 25 साल में नहीं लेना है. पहले यू गो थ्रू लाइफ. ओनली फ्यू रेयर सेलेक्टेड पीपल लाइक आदि गुरु शंकराचार्य, वेरी फ्यू पीपल जो पूरी तरह परिपक्व हो चुके थे, उनको वो ही परमिशन मिलता था दीक्षा लेने का उस एज में. वेरी रेयर फ्यू. नहीं तो सबको गृहस्थ जीवन के थ्रू जाना ही पड़ता था. दे वर ट्रेन्ड लाइक दैट. Only maybe 5%, 10% of people went from direct brahmacharya ashram to sannyas ashram. It was very systematic. So that is why वो जो fear है वो inherent इसीलिए है कि the mind has to go through the churning of the entire ashram. क्योंकि mind परिपक्व नहीं होता. इसीलिए बहुत सारे आश्रम में scams भी होते हैं. Because they have not exhausted their mental tendency, what they're supposed to exhaust in first 50 years of life. वो करना भी नहीं चाहिए. Unless you're 100% sure. और वो एक गुरु ही आपको एक रियलाइज़ करवा सकता है. आप गुरु के सानिध्य में ही करके वो कर सकते हो. हम अपने डिसाइड कर सकते हैं. जो ब्रह्म ऋषि हैं या गुरु जो पहुँचे हुए हैं उनके सानिध्य में बैठ के बच्चा अगर बोल रहा है कि नहीं मुझे यही बात चाहिए, अगर गुरु बोल रहा है कि हाँ आई थिंक ही इज़ और शी इज़ रेडी, तभी करना चाहिए. क्योंकि हम तो वो डिसाइड ही नहीं कर सकते.
उनके पास है कैपेसिटी टू
असेस
ये पर्सन रेडी है लाइक संन्यास लेने.
हाँ, तो इवन जो शादीशुदा नहीं होते हैं उनमें भी अगर कोई दीक्षा लेना चाहता है ट्रेडिशनली, ओके, तो उनको 12 साल तक वो गुरु के अंडर रह के शिक्षा ग्रहण करनी पड़ती है. 12 साल मिनिमम. देन दे डिसाइड टू गिव द दीक्षा कि अभी तुम रेडी हो संन्यास के लिए. 12 साल वेदांत पढ़ना पड़ता है, सब कुछ ये सब दे हैव टू गो थ्रू दिस. ऐसे एक दिन आप नहीं डिसाइड कर सकते मैं आज जाके हिमालय पे चला जाऊँगा. दैट इज अगेन शॉर्ट टर्म वैराग्य.
बट आज के ज़माने में तो संन्यास घर पे रह के भी हो सकता है.
घर पे ही रह के होना चाहिए.
हाँ, राइट. और मुझे तो लगता है कि हम सारे सोल एक जर्नी पे है. ख़त्म की थी. आई एम एक्चुअली स्टार्टिंग कि मैंने अब ये बर्थ में मैं उस टाइम से शुरू कर रही हूँ. तो कभी कभी तभी लगता है कि कुछ लोगों को ये मैच्योरिटी जल्दी आ जाती है, किसी को थोड़ी देर में आती है. मुझे तो ऐसे लगता है. फिर
भगवद गीता में लिखा हुआ है ना, उसका टर्म यूज किया हुआ है योग भ्रष्ट. जो पिछले जन्म में योग भ्रष्ट हो गए थे, मतलब भ्रष्ट हो गए थे एकदम अंत तक जाने से, वो वहाँ पे अंत होता है उनका जैसे शरीर का, तो अगले जन्म में वो उसी पॉइंट से शो करते हैं.
पर मुझे तो मेरे ये लाइफ में भी ऐसे ही लग रहा है कि सेम सिचुएशन मेरी लाइफ में आती रहती है मुझे सबक सिखाने के लिए. और व्हेन आई इवैल्यूएट माई सेल्फ, मुझे लगता है कि या पास्ट टाइम में मैंने इतने सालों पहले ये सिचुएशन में ये रिएक्ट किया था, उसके बाद मैंने ऐसे रिएक्ट किया था और अब मैं ऐसे रिएक्ट कर रही हूँ. बट सेम सिचुएशन आती है. सो लाइक हाँ लाइक इट्स सो फैसिनेटिंग कि क्या लाइक यूनिवर्स क्या करवाना चाहता है लाइक ये कभी कभी तो माइंड ही क्रिएट कर लेती है वो सिचुएशन बिकॉज वी वांट गो अहेड विद द जर्नी लाइक कभी तो मुझे लगता है कि मैं ही वो सिचुएशन क्रिएट कर रही हूँ सीरियसली
सो स्वीट।
जैसे अहम पढ़े इसका मतलब है कि आप रिजल्ट से अटैच ना हो, अपने कर्म करे जाओ।
वो कर्म तो आप कभी छोड़ ही नहीं सकते ना।
हाँ, तो जो हम कर रहे हैं जिस प्रोसेस में, मान लो सपोज मैं काम कर रही हूँ जॉब, तो अपना काम मैं
अच्छे
पूरी
से करिए,
ईमानदारी से कर जाऊँ, उसकी रिजल्ट के पीछे मेरा फोकस ना हो।
बिल्कुल सही है। वो भी है
तो
5
वैराग्य-
टाइप का संन्यास दिया हुआ है भगवत गीता के 5वें चैप्टर में, संन्यास योग में। आई थिंक 5वां चैप्टर है, उसमें हम डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे टाइप्स ऑफ संन्यास।
Really, the big takeaway today is whatever you're going through every day, all your emotions, all your highs and lows, there is a way to step back and look at it from a Sakshi Bhav perspective, to bring in that Vairāgya, to bring in that, not be so attached to what it does to you, is to step back and say, is to look at it, is to notice it. Right? Kyunki a concept, whatever, we're talking about Vairāgya, we're talking about Karma Yoga, we're talking about Sannyas, a lot of these complex topics that are obviously very big topics, takes long to discuss. And as Archana ji said, like these are things that are already existing in like, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, all of these. So when we look at these concepts and we connect the dots, right? Even with Tattva Bodh, as Gayatri ji so beautifully does that. The key is, how am I being dragged through all of this, or do I have some ability to stand on my feet and just look at what is happening? Because that space, again, we're talking about awareness and creating space. When we step back, we give us some runway before we respond or react. We give ourselves runway and say, okay, before you do anything, think about this. Same. 10th time the situation is coming. Am I still going to get upset? Am I going to create drama around this? Or am I this time going to walk away? Let's try walking away. Let's see how that works out. That ability to think has to come through the buddhi being divinized and you having enough time, that space, to use that divinized buddhi. Right? You keep divinizing your buddhi, but then you're still reacting, then there's no, there's a gap. So it's to create that mechanism for you to, okay, let me see. So Vairāgya, basically, we're getting into now with the Yoga Sutras, really talking about this mind, that inner development that needs to happen to progress in our spiritual path. If you keep getting drowned, every time you come up for air, you're drowned, how are you going to swim? Right? You're just going to drown. So that is the big thing. And also just one, I'll just make, yes, go ahead, Pradeep.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say the sannyas, and we were talking about, the different ashramas. It reminded me of Swami Vivekananda. Somebody asked him, why did you become a sannyasi? Does anyone know the answer he gave?
He was inspired by the Guru, right?
Yeah. But he basically said, it's because I like it. I like it. Not because I'm done with the world, not because this is the greatest path. No, because I like it. So that I like it. I know this is what I want, and this is where my heart is.
Yeah.
This is where so people, when they choose certain paths, especially as Archana ji said, taking up sannyas at a young age, that is destined. You don't do that. You don't do that.
He had like clarity in his mind.
वो तो destiny है. You can't read books and become a sannyasi.
I've heard that when he met Swami Ramakrishna, उन्होंने बोला कि इतनी देर क्यों लगा दिया नरेन आने में, है ना? मतलब कनेक्शन था.
Yeah. And
इतना सुंदर है वो,
so beautiful.
गुरु शिष्य का जो मिलन है, oh my God. When I read, I was like, oh my God.
Seriously, and he came from Brahmo Samaj, right, which didn't believe in gods, and he took 4 years. Swamiji took 4 years before he entered the Kali temple. Right, that's the story.
गुरु टेस्ट करते हैं ना, तो वही बोल रहे हैं, गुरु के थ्रू जाना पड़ता है. तो हम नहीं डिसाइड कर सकते हमारे बच्चों का फ्यूचर क्या होगा. उनको we have to go through the churning of that mind testing. इतना आसान नहीं है. 2 बातें हैं, ठीक है. राग मतलब होता है इंटेंस लाइकिंग, कि तुम उसके बिना रह नहीं सकती. क्रेविंग, जैसे कुछ लोग बोलते हैं ना, 4 बजे मुझे चाय नहीं मिली तो मेरा सर दुखता है. तो राग इन द्वेष इज नॉट लाइक मेयर लाइकिंग एंड डिसलाइकिंग. जैसे मुझे बैगन बहुत पसंद होता है बट वो नहीं भी मिले तो ठीक है. वैराग्य इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. वैराग्य इज नॉट सिंपल लाइक्स एंड डिसलाइक्स. मतलब वो इंटेंस है बहुत ज़्यादा कि मैं अपने बच्चे के बिना नहीं रह सकता, मैं अपने पति के बिना नहीं रह सकती. ऐसा इंटेंस लाइकिंग या क्लिंगिंग अटैचमेंट टू समथिंग इज राग. द्वेष है आई कैन नॉट टॉलरेट दिस पर्सन, व्हेन ही इज इन द मीटिंग आई कैन नॉट गो. वो हो गया द्वेष. इट्स नॉट सिंपल लाइक्स एंड डिसलाइक्स. लाइक्स एंड डिसलाइक्स सबको होते हैं, नेचुरल रहता है. वो अपने अपने गुण के हिसाब से, संस्कार रहते हैं हमारे जो, उसके हिसाब से रहता है. ओके, दैट हैज़ नथिंग टू डू विद वैराग्य. समझ में आ रहा है? लाइक्स एंड डिसलाइक हैज़ नथिंग टू डू विद वैराग्य. इंग्लिश में प्रॉपर ट्रांसलेट नहीं हो पाता है, इसीलिए आई रिफ्रेन फ्रॉम यूजिंग इंग्लिश वर्ड्स व्हेन संस्कृत, राइट. इसलिए डिटैचमेंट भी नहीं यूज़ करना चाहिए, उसमें एकदम नेगेटिव फीलिंग आ जाता है. लोगों ने ऐसा बना दिया है उसको, है ना. इसीलिए वैराग्य वैसे सोचना है कि आज मैं अपने बच्चों के लिए सब कुछ कर रही हूँ, सास ससुर के लिए, पति के लिए, सब कर रही हूँ जैसे तुमने बोला, है ना. लेकिन आज मेरे लाइफ में कोई भी नहीं रहे, स्टिल ओके, स्टिल ओके. आई स्टिल फॉलो माई धर्म, जो मेरा मन बोल रहा है ना. आई कैन लिव विदाउट एनीबॉडी. वो रियल वैराग्य है. आज मैं सब कुछ कर रही हूँ बच्चों के लिए, कल को मुझे जाके पूछेगी भी नहीं, स्टिल ओके. क्योंकि मैं सोचती हूँ कि हम अपने बच्चों को सब कुछ देते हैं, लेकिन क्या उनके मन में वो श्रद्धा रहेगी बाद में. लेकिन मुझे लगता है मुझे कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ेगा. नहीं पड़ना चाहिए. वही वैराग्य है. जब प्रेम करते हैं तो मतलब हम किसी ऑब्जेक्ट से प्रेम कर रहे हैं. प्रेम ऑब्जेक्टिफाई नहीं हो सकता. प्रेम इज योर स्वरूप. इट फ्लोज, इट जस्ट कम्स आउट. यू आर हेल्पलेस एट वन स्टेज.
बट अटैचमेंट तो उससे ज़्यादा होती है जो आपके पास रहता है, आपने उसके लिए बहुत कुछ किया.
ये
जो
अटैचमेंट नहीं,
बाहर
एक्सपेक्टेशन है.
नहीं, अब सपोज आई नेवर न्यू कि ग्रीफ क्या बोलते हैं, बट एक गिलहरी को बचाने के लिए क्या क्या मैंने किया, लाइक बहुत सारी मैंने उसके लिए किया, और फिर भी वो बची नहीं. तो लाइक दैट एक्चुअली टुक मी डाउन फॉर 2 months.
देखो, करुणा होना एक ह्यूमन बीइंग के लिए दूसरे ह्यूमन बीइंग के लिए नेचुरल है, करुणा या कंपैशन, ठीक है. लेकिन हृदय द्रवित होता है ना, दैट यू आर ओपनिंग अप टू दैट बीइंग, राइट. दैट इज लव फ्लोइंग अप फ्रॉम यू, व्हिच इज वेरी नेचुरल फॉर ह्यूमन. वी आर नॉट रोबोट्स, बट दैट शुड नॉट लीड यू इनटू डिप्रेशन. दोनों में डिफरेंस समझ में आ रहा है?
बट आई गेस मैं तो चली गई थी शायद.
तो वहीं पे आपको कैच करना है अपने आप को. समझ में आ रहा है कि ये प्रकृति का नियम है. ओके, जीवन, पालन और संहार, मृत्यु प्रकृति का नियम है, हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है. जिसका जब होगा वो चल रहा है. जैसे एक सेम वे, जैसे रेड ब्लड सेल्स बनते हैं, 120 डेज सस्टेन होते हैं, 120 डे के बाद विलय हो जाता है उनका. सो जो ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश हैं वो चलते रहते हैं प्रकृति में. वो हमारे साथ भी होगा. हमारे ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स यहाँ रहते हैं अर्थ में, तो क्या होता, ग्रेट ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, जानना है हमको ना, हम भी एक दिन चले जाएंगे. ये एक क्लैरिटी. और ऐसा नहीं कि आपको बोलते हैं कि बहुत ईजी है बोलना कि मृत्यु से भय चला गया, लेकिन कोई चाकू ला के रख दिया तो सबको भय लगता है उसका, सबको. इट इज़ नेचुरल. लेकिन वो एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि होना है तो होना ही है, ठीक है.
सो वही है, सेम सिचुएशन वापस दिस समर में आ गई मेरे सामने.
बेटर ऑफ
So
life is giving you the chance to learn, right?
Yeah.
How you respond to
How
the
you respond to the
situation.
situations. Especially that creates a negative emotion in you. Again, observer भाव, साक्षी भाव रहेगा तो ये इमोशन सारे माइंड का खेल है.
Correct.
You have to observe yourself. You can observe your thoughts and emotions, right? That's what this whole process is about. पतंजलि और सूत्र पढ़ना, वेदांत पढ़ना, it makes you an observer, very strong observer. मेरा मन अभी दुखी है, ठीक है बेटा, दुखी हो लो.
रोना है, रो ले थोड़ा.
हाँ, थोड़ा रो लो.
Get a good cry out.
खत्म करो.